Welcome, everyone, to an amazing adventure. Today, we're going on an adventure plumbing the depths of old school, the OG marketing with my friend Andy Crestodina. And we're going to talk about some things that maybe we're losing sight of. Everybody is so connected to AI today and trying to figure out what's next with AI. And Andy and I share a frustration that sometimes we're losing sight of some of the most basic fundamental things that have made us successful. Before we get started, I want to remind you that this episode is brought to you by SEMrush. Boy, I love SEMrush. SEMrush is probably the marketing tool I use most on my job every day. And they've introduced some new AI visibility tools that are really quite amazing. You can track your AI visibility score. How about that? Pretty interesting. Go to semrush.com/ai.seo to check it out. They've got a little application on there. You can try a few web pages for free. Nothing to lose. So check out SEMrush. So Andy, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm pleased to hear the name SEMrush. That is a fantastic tool. I'm going to second that. It includes brand sentiment.
Yeah.
It's expanded. It's evolved quite a bit, and SEMrush is out in front. So, thank you, SEMrush, for sponsoring.
And one of the things I love is that SEMrush, they have kept investing.
They have.
Month by month by month, they introduce new tools, and yeah, so they have been just a heart of my business strategy for many years.
Hmm.
So I'm going to let you kick this off. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. We've been reflecting on some of the old school things that have made us successful that maybe aren't at the top of the social media hit parade anymore. So why don't you start us off?
Sure. I gave a presentation yesterday, or wrote an article last week in which I quoted a copywriting legend. And in that moment, because I collaborate with people all the time, but I thought about this, and I think this is a great topic because there's so much that we can learn from the greats of the past.
Mm,
And what were they focused on? Persuasion, action, behavior.
yes, that's
So,
right. That was the very early days of marketing. That was
sure,
it was really a field more about psychology than
it
anything else.
was. And that's missing. I think that's what some marketers forget. The persuasion, the science of persuasion,
Yeah,
the reason why people do and don't take action, cognitive bias. I think, of course, AI, we're keeping up. That's great. Big topic. It's
yeah.
super interesting. But the other thing that we should be researching, exploring, experimenting with, testing, trying new things, continue to learn, read the old books. Persuasion science, why people do and don't take action. I
Hmm.
think tons of marketing forgets to do any kind of objection handling. How
Yeah.
can you persuade an action without addressing the reasons people don't do things? Uh, Cognitive biases are forever and eternal. Let's not leave those out.
And I'll remind uh, our listeners of a couple great books in this area. One I love is Nudge.
Hmm.
Nudge, super great book. I love Nancy Harhut's book
Hmm.
about consumer behavior. I love Dr. Robert Cialdini's book on early book on persuasion, one of the
Hmm.
giants, right? Do you have any
Hmm.
favorites, Andy?
Scientific advertising, if you haven't read that, breakthrough advertising. These are like Eugene Schwartz, like the copywriting legends. But in the modern context, I think the examples are very timely just to read Nancy's book, which
Yeah.
is Behavioral Science in Marketing.
Yeah, there we go. My name's actually on the cover of that book.
There
Uh,
you are.
I gave her the blurb for that book. So for me, one of the things it's that I'm struggling with a lot of the people I do consulting for is basic branding. And it's just such a new day. Everything the switch on marketing flipped 20 years ago, maybe 25. And it's just never been the same. And that the switch was social media and optimizing for SEO, optimizing for Facebook ads and Google ads. It's optimize, 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 optimize. And don't get me wrong, that is important. But we're overlooking the heart and soul so often of our companies, which is brand. Creating distinctiveness, creating meaning, creating an emotional expectation so that when people hear your name, it means something. That is your that's your long-term profitability. That is what's going to distance you from your competitors. So, optimize, optimize, optimize performance marketing. That's important. It's going to fill the top of the funnel, but it just seems to be a struggle these days to remind people about the importance of branding. And of course, if you look at the best run companies in the world, they own their brands, they own their niche, they own their market, they dominate their industry. And it isn't because they're good at optimizing Facebook ads. It's because they have, they've created brilliant, beautiful, emotional storytelling that resonates with people and sticks with people. And it becomes part of the fabric of people's lives because they love these brands. Well, that was quite a soapbox.
I I agree with it 100%. There's some marketers that really just over-index on the performance channels.
Yeah.
Great quote from Joe Chernoff. He says, "Show me a company with runaway demand gen costs, and I'll show you a company with limited brand awareness."
Yeah.
And like and the SEMrush tool we just mentioned, the AI visibility SEMrush reports show brand sentiment. If your brand sentiment is poor, you don't you fix that before you go optimize for keywords or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Another little thing. This is kind of an easy fix. I'd like to get your opinion on this. So one of the reports you get from Grammarly
Hmm.
is the sentiment of your writing. Have you seen that?
No, but I just saw a report that shows that pop music is getting crankier. Like
Hmm.
sentiment is trending down right now, just
Yeah.
generally in culture.
So I mean, it's just like this little indicator because a big part of my brand is my content, and Grammarly every month gives you this indicator that says here is the tone, and like I think it's like it gives you like the top five sort of emotional perspectives of your content, and like I love it when it says joyful,
Mm,
supportive, nurturing. But
hmm
like when whenever it says like authoritative or something like that, makes me think, geez, am I over-indexing? How am I showing up? Anyway, that's just a little hack maybe someone can think of. What's number two for you?
It's how we met. I'm going back to the beginning, and
Was
I
it a
think
date? Was it a dating app?
I swiped right, and here we are. No, no, I'm talking about live events and communities. The live events will always be a precious format for content. For me, it's changed my my life in all kinds of ways. So many friendships, so many people I know that where we first connected in person. I'll be brief on this one because the point is obvious. I mean, COVID changed things a bit, but live events are alive and well. Brands can create their own events. There's huge opportunities yet to connect in person. People who create their events can invite specific people to those events. There's all kinds of you can repurpose content from them. They are just a gold mine for networking, relationships, and sales marketing alignment, and then driving the opportunities for repurposing content. It's an incredible format, and these are long relationships that I am grateful for, and many of them started at in-person events.
You remember where we met?
We met in Columbus, Ohio, at the second ever Content Marketing World, and in the Invincible Saad,
Oh yeah,
Mohammed Saad had connected us or recommended us to each other
yeah.
in LinkedIn like months before.
Okay.
And when I met you, we took a picture for him. But I remember that exact moment. It was the top of the escalators in that convention center in Columbus, Ohio, Mark. I
How
remember it
about
well.
that? Yeah. Well, it certainly had a bigger impact on you than it did on me because I don't know. But I mean,
Not
I
not
can't.
surprising.
I cherish our friendship, and you mentioned how bad COVID was, and when things started to break up over COVID and we started to travel again, the first thing I did is literally, this is true. I got on a plane to visit Andy just because I needed to see a friend. I was just so lonely being by myself for so long. I said, Andy, can I come up and see you? We had a great steak dinner together. So the second one for me is paper.
Hmm.
And it seems like a really weird one, but we live in this digital world, and paper is this unexpected luxury. And I'm not saying that this is going to be, there's going to be a comeback in, magazines or newspapers or anything like that. But when you get paper for you, like in the mail, it's still really special. If you get a card or a letter, it breaks through everything. And I'll give you another example. I work with a guy, he's a brilliant marketer, he's a CMO of a wealth management company. And what he was finding is his open rate on his emails were really, really low. So he did some research and he found that these busy, wealthy executives, they just won't open a newsletter on email. They just won't do it. And so he started to create the same kind of newsletter in a beautiful paper format with the same type of content. And it was just a huge success. And it was a meaningful, beautiful way to connect with these people when the open rate just wouldn't work. And again, it's because who does that anymore? So it's I call paper the unexpected luxury, unexpected,
Hmm.
unexpected luxury.
I love that. It's I often hear, and I've said this a long time ago, and I'm even talking about like handwritten thank you notes. Oh, it's so hard to break through the clutter. Try the forgotten inbox.
Yeah,
Lick a stamp. You can tell
yeah,
I'm Gen X because I said lick the stamp, but send someone, yeah, get out a pen. When's the last time you sent a note to someone? It's too easy online. It just shows no effort, right? Like it's like the, happy birthday on LinkedIn. It's just like you got 60 of those. But send someone a card. I don't know. It's
yeah,
totally accessible. Anyone can do it. Postage isn't it's special. It's totally special. I completely agree. Uh,
yeah. I can name three very close, longtime business collaborators that are in my life and part of my business because they wrote me a card. And I didn't really know them well beforehand. And
mhm.
it just, of course, one of the cards, it was accompanied a bag full of money. That helped too for anyone listening out there. And you want to really break through the clutter, that works too. So before you talk about number three for you, I want to mention that our other great sponsor for many, many years here on the show is Brevo. And Brevo is such a cool tool. It's so easy to use. It's such a great value for the money. It creates a unified view of the customer journey, helps you grow your business with intuitive marketing and sales tools like marketing campaigns over email, SMS, even WhatsApp. You can get started with Brevo for free by going to brevo.com/marketing companion. And if you sign up for one of the paid plans, please use the promo code companion. You get 50% off. So, also, the other thing I'm going to mention here is on our next show. You're not going to want to miss the next show because there is going to be a big announcement. We're going to have a special guest and a big announcement coming on the Marketing Companion. So tune in next time. So, Andy, what is your number three?
Nice way to tease that. Well done.
I am a
You,
tease.
you got me. You got me on the hook. Okay, I'm going to preface my number three with a little statement that is something that just is unavoidable in digital because there's new channels and new tools and new ways to do things all the time. A very common question is, what are we doing about X? What are we doing about this? What are we doing about that? So I'm going to say that one thing that we tend to forget, and I think that the greats of old would have been better at this, is to iterate and quit using ineffective formats, make decisions, make the tough call about what to stop doing.
Oh, yeah.
Because we keep adding more channels and formats and
Mm.
tools, and it it's natural. I understand why, and I'm guilty of this myself, but I think we should all be more deliberate and iterate on our strategies and decide once and for all what to discontinue. You really can't be great everywhere. Pick two. Pick two channels and go all in on those and stop doing something. I think the most effective campaigns and brands of the past, they don't chase every new channel. So it's a question you don't hear much in meetings. What should we quit doing? That's when I think should be deserves a spot on this list because those tough choices are not something that marketers make easily. But the best, all of our favorite marketers have tried and failed and given up and then focused on the higher performing, their higher performing actions. So that's my number three. Let's iterate. Let's say
Yeah,
no.
I want to build on that with two comments. Is that one of the things I teach in the personal branding class, especially, is to stand out and make a difference today. You have to be great, and you can't be great in 10 places. And I know some marketing advisors out there say, "Oh, you got to be everywhere." But you've got to be great. That's the most important of all. And if you look at the people who are standing out in the field, like Andy Crestodina,
Hmm.
they're they've doubled down on the quality, right? I mean, when I get an alert when I go to my LinkedIn feed, I get an alert. Andy Crestodina has added a new, right? Because they know I love what he's done, what he's written. I'm always going to look at that, right?
Hmm.
And he's only earned that place in my feed because of the quality of the content. So I love what you're saying about focus, about building on what works. And
Hmm.
I'll just add to that to say double down on the quality. Double down. If you've got any extra time or resources, double down. The other thing I want to address with your idea is be careful about what you're working on, especially if you love it. It might not be the right thing.
Hmm.
And this was a lesson I had when it was one of my when I left the corporate world. It was one of my very first consulting customers, and it was a regional telecom company. And the president of the company, I apologize to you, sir, if you're listening today. The president of the company, and you know who you are. He was just a great guy and he was a brilliant engineer, and he loved tinkering on the website.
Hmm.
But it got to a point where like, what are you doing? There's so many other things we need to be working on. You are the president of this company. Do you really need? And he would even like over the weekend, he'd be tinkering on the website, and he just said, "I love it. I just love it." And I think this is a danger that you kind of need to look up and with a steely-eyed focus, really look at what is working in your business and say, "Is this really what I need to be?" Working on right now, even if this is something that I love to do. I mean, discipline is a big part
It
of
is.
marketing success.
It is. It is. You can't do everything. And for the marketers who say, like, I struggle to find time to do the quality thing, and thank you for the kind words, but oh, I can't go that deep into this, or I have to get this done by now, or I only have this much time. Look at your time, audit your time, and it's likely you're leaking energy in some channels that aren't performing, and you could recapture, you could invest that time into the things that are. I would never be able uh, to do what I do if I tried to do six other things as well. I'm pretty focused on a
Yeah,
few formats and a few channels, and that's what I'm doing, and I'm going
yeah,
to do it the best I can in there. And I'm able to do that because I'm not distracted by the 10 other places I could try to be, but
And
it's,
it's intoxicating because you think,
yeah.
oh well, TikTok is free. Why can't I? But it's not. It's not free. It's your time. It's your attention is diluting the quality of your other efforts. So, yeah. So I like that. So my last one is sex, and anybody that's listened to the show for a long time is probably not surprised about that because if there's ever been a theme of this show for the last 13 years, it's probably been sex. And the reason I thought about sex is I remember when I was in my undergraduate classes, I took a class called Introduction to Advertising. And we spent like a whole week talking about sex and how sex
Hmm.
sells. Now, you could debate, like, is that really a balanced view or was the teacher just weird? I don't know. That's a story for another day. But the fact of the matter is, and remember, one of the things we talked about is that when you get back to the OG basics of marketing, it all gets back down to psychology.
Hmm.
So, one of the things I've been paying attention to and thinking about a lot is like this was sort of like drilled into my mind in undergrad school, Introduction to Advertising, sex sells. Is that still true? Because it's a new world. We have a lot of interesting, positive things happening with body image. And I mean, this is good and this is healthy. But so like, is the culture changing? Is advertising changing? And I mean, I haven't really looked at a statistical analysis of this, but my view would still be that sex still sells, attractiveness still sells. And if you look at the celebrities in our culture, the actors and the celebrities, they're attractive because they have to sell movies. And a lot of the influencers who have become massive and are creating their own brands, they're all attractive. And so I actually, like did a little research to kind of remind myself of the psychology of this. And there really is something embedded in our in the deepest parts of our DNA and human psychology that from an evolutionary standpoint, humans are wired to notice beauty because it signals health. It
Hmm.
signals fertility and good genes. So beauty in terms of symmetry, clear skin, proportionate features, those are indicators of reproductive fitness. It also is like a shortcut. When an ad feels aesthetically pleasing, the brain interprets this as truth and credibility. So it's a shortcut. If it's beautiful, it must be good. And I'm not saying, I'm not making a value judgment about, whether this is a good part of our society. I think there are definitely bad parts of it in our society. I hate some of the stuff you read about, what's happening with the competition of young people today. It breaks my heart. But I think we need to recognize at some core psychological level this idea and attractiveness and sexuality still works in our marketing. So how about that one, Andy? Bet you didn't see that one coming.
Did not see that coming. I think that's not just OG, that's like evolutionary, like back to early basics. Uh, Applying that more broadly, tell me if you agree with this, is that if beauty in general and is important and influential over our decisions, do you think that that partly explains the importance of investing in design? I mean, do you ever look at a website,
Yeah.
you're like, that can't be you know,
Yeah.
this must be a cheap option.
Hmm.
People, design matters, beauty matters, quality, the visual appeal of a thing makes a difference.
Yeah.
And I think that some brands just underinvest in design, or they just assume little brands can look big and expensive, and big brands can look cheap and lazy. It really is, I think, more broadly past sexuality. Some of those things just apply to visual appeal
Yeah.
anywhere, and things to
Hmm.
look credible or not. based on whether they spent a little bit of money on design.
I love the way you connected the dots that way because because this idea of the visual fluency
Hmm.
that it just sends you a message that okay, this must be good. I feel safe here. And when I work with clients that are building a business or maybe doing a redesign, and I tell them, if you spend one dime on your marketing, it should be on the design of your website because that is your front door to the world. And it's so interesting. And this is another thing, maybe it's a topic for another day, but it's something that I've been watching that there's this trend sort of against websites. And I was actually shocked. I was making this connection with this well known influencer, and his website is a link to his YouTube channel. That's it.
Ooh, uh-oh.
Yeah, that's it.
That-
And I thought, wow, wow, that is interesting. And then I saw another one, and this one is a little bit better because it had like an interesting flow where when you move the clicker and the mouse, the images kind of moved, but it had no content. It was like
Hmm.
links to here's YouTube, here I am on TikTok, something like that. I thought, wow, do I need to revisit this? And right now, the answer is no. I think for most people, you want that statement, you want that archive, you want that proof. It's important for discoverability.
Hmm.
So, I say, you need a website, and it needs to be attractive. It absolutely does.
Well, it's now more than ever because your website is your best chance to inject all the happy news about your brand into AI's
Mm,
training data. Uh, but it is still strange to me, and I'm partly biased because we're a digital agency that focuses on websites. Even our CEO, if I say like, "Oh, interesting company," I'm talking to these people, he immediately looks at the site and forms an opinion about them based on that, even though we rebuild websites. I'm like, okay, Todd, you know that we change these perceptions all the time. Why are you weighting that so heavily when you've seen us, transform
yeah.
these, So it's really incredible how strong it is for the user, and it's now more important, like you'd already said, for discoverability. I don't know how you're going to have a chance in the new world without having a place where you have unlimited time and space to tell all the stories and inject all the proof points and handle all the objections, which I mentioned.
Mhm.
But people really overweight more than they should. There's a strong bias toward creating perceptions about a brand based on the first 3 seconds of your experience on their homepage.
Yeah, I worked with a client literally last week, and they've made this pivot, and they needed time with me because they were investing all this money in content, tremendous amount of money in content, because they made this pivot and they're trying to build this new practice with a new practice and a new audience. So it's like, stuff on LinkedIn and podcasts and all this stuff, right? Go to their website. It never even mentions the new practice. And they said, well, we're just not getting any conversions. And I said, well, it would help if you're spending all this time to get people to click on your website. When you get to the website, just smack them in the face. Tell them exactly this is what we do, and this is how we do it, and this is the problem we solve for you. You don't even tell people what you're doing right now. So I mean, don't ignore the website, folks.
There's more to life than conversions too. It's your brand. If someone word of mouth visitor who's heard that that's a new practice and they go to look and they don't see it there,
Mm,
it could hurt sales for the new offer. If the person who heard that you did that can't see that you do it, I I've never seen a website that didn't have huge gaps. It's
mm.
and most of which are easy to fix. So
Well, Andy, thank you so
basics.
much for your wisdom and your time today. I think this podcast episode will also be a grand experiment to see now that we have talked about sex, will this send a new type of traffic to my site? How will AI respond? Tune in next time to hear what the real meaning of AI signals is about these days. But thank you so much. It's always a joy to see you, my friend. And everyone, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on The Marketing Companion.